And it's actually from the book of Esther in the Bible of all places. It talks about Mordecai, who was a leader in that time.
A leader is also a light in the darkness.
I think differently, and now I believe in myself because I'm around him, and I think even more is possible.
Welcome to Leading Lubbock, the podcast where we spotlight the voices shaping our city and beyond. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories and thought-provoking conversations with leaders who are making a difference in their communities. What makes this journey unique? Every guest is nominated by someone who's already been on the show, creating a chain of leadership that reflects the power of connection and community. Join us as we explore what it takes to lead with purpose and impact. This is Leading Lubbock.
All right, here we are, another episode of Leading Lubbock, and man, I am really excited about this one because this one's pretty special to me. Today I've got Ben Lashaway with me. Ben is somebody who I've gotten to meet for a while on a regular basis, so we get to meet once a month and just catch up on life, hear how you're growing and the things that you're encountering. And man, I think many days I feel like it started with me leading you, but I feel like you're leading me
along the way.
Yeah, it's
turned into a friendship for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's been fun. So Ben, I'm going to explain a little bit about who you are to anybody that's listening in, and then we'll just jump into it, man. If there's anything I missed,
sounds good.
You just let me know. So,
yes, sir.
Ben, you are currently going to school at Texas Tech.
Yep.
This is your second year there.
Sophomore, yes,
Sophomore. And you are majoring in finance.
That's right.
And then you're pretty active when it comes to what you're doing on the side.
Yeah, I stay
here.
busy.
So you got you're doing stuff with Redeemer College.
Yes, sir.
And the leadership there.
That's right.
And then you've got the real estate organization that you're a part of.
Yep.
Vice president there.
Yes, sir.
And then you're on the Dean Student Council. And you're the chaplain for the fraternity that you're in.
I am, yep.
Dude, so cool. And kind of was like a no-brainer to me whenever I was thinking about our friendship, thinking about this show. There's a category of young leaders that I really like to tap into. And, man, you just fit the mold for that because of what I've seen you do, the things you've accomplished already at such a young age, and just the way that you were modeling leadership for those your peers and those younger than you, man. It is unbelievable. So
yeah, I appreciate that. When I heard about Leading Lubbock podcast, there couldn't be a better host than you. Kind of learning from you, and I mean, it's just a great opportunity I couldn't say no to.
Oh, dude,
absolutely.
Well, thanks, man. That means
sir.
a lot.
Yes, sir.
So what I love about our connection is just KPA, so Kingdom Preparatory Academy, currently where my kids are attending, and then you were there,
from
right?
pre-K to senior year, all the way through.
All the way through.
Nothing else, but
yeah, and it really has some great output of students in the way that the people can. One of the things I guess that wowed me about you is whenever I went and watched you do your thesis your senior year.
Oh yeah, felt like forever ago.
And
sure.
I was just blown away that a senior has that much ability to be in front of a large audience.
Yeah.
And just make it seem so casual, and professional. Man, you just did such a great job. So I'm excited.
KPA taught me well for sure. The faculty, good care on me, and so prepared me well for college and for life. And so hopefully those young kids at KPA do the same thing. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for being a great example of that. I'm excited for people to know your story, to hear a little bit about what has shaped you and who you are.
Yeah.
Because I think there's lots of life lessons in there. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm pumped to hear about it. So we're going to begin the leadership segment of this, and I'd love to know, what does being a good leader mean to you, and how do you think your ideas about leadership have changed over time?
Gosh, good question. I'll start kind of what it looked like for me in high school. Obviously in high school, I kind of got in positions of leadership, and I think that's natural. I think people hearing this, and especially young kids in high school, like, whether you like it or not, good or bad, you're going to be a leader, right? If you're a junior or senior, these freshmen and sophomores, they're going to mimic you. And so that's just going to come naturally. And then I was in athletics as well. Me and my couple buddies ran a business, a little tiny business that we had employees as well. So I found myself in a lot of leadership positions. And as I look back, I mean, I kind of felt like I mean, the things weren't bad. I think I motivated people. I wanted to achieve the ultimate goal in whatever I was doing. And those are not bad qualities, but that's all I cared about. And so when I look back at it, and especially where I am now, is I was very selfish with my leadership. It was like, where can I get with my goals? And motivating people, like, what's the intention of doing that? And so as I look back, I was like, man, it was really just for me. And so that's a totally different way of looking at leadership. And as I got into college, my spring year, freshman year, so spring of 24, I joined college, the Redeemer College Leadership. And it's such a great program. I love it. And so I joined, I get in there, I kind of have that football mentality, like how many people can we get in, like that sales mentality. How many people can get to college gathering? How many people can I get to my Bible study? And the first thing we do there is, hey, they teach us like, hey, you know what? We're going to park in the back. We're going to serve others. We're going to be with people that you don't know. And not only are you going to lead the Bible study, you're going to meet with these people individually. You're going to ask more questions than you talk. And I was blown away. I was like, this is not what I kind of signed up for. That's not what I thought about it. And so kind of what I learned, of course, it's awesome. I learned it through Christ and people that are following Christ is, man, leadership's about serving others. It's about being personable and being intentional and kind of setting the ultimate goal aside and your own ambition to kind of help people get where they need to be. And so that's kind of where I see leadership now is totally different than high school, where it was very selfish, should be more selfless. And so that's kind of what I learned about leadership going through church, and I've kind of got that in my other organizations and other things I lead in life, and it just kind of creates humility in leadership, and that's really what it's about. It's not about kind of showing off. So
yeah, man,
yeah.
What a big lesson at an early age. I think unfortunately it takes many of us a little too long to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't have it all right, but I'm learning.
It's great that you've already made as much progress in how you even view what leadership means at this point in life. So
yes, sir.
Do you feel like there's a practical change that took place whenever you shifted from this concept of something to gain for you versus using it as a tool, a platform to serve other people? Like, what does that look like in how you actually led those around you? So I'm sure whenever you're talking about like sports and the way you maybe even led family and friends versus now, maybe how that shifted to more of a servant focused. What did that look like as you're practically leading these people?
Yeah, I think it's like a heart posture for sure. I think one thing is my senior year, I met with a lot of people older than me, and one big one was you, right? And kind of seeing that you didn't really want anything from me, that you took time out of your schedule to meet with me. You did that every month, and it was supposed to be a 1-month deal, and you kept taking time out. And I was like, man, like, I don't know if I would have done that. And that's kind of what I learned. You got to learn from people older than you that you respect. And I was like, this guy has character to come meet with me. That's leadership. And so how that's changed is like, you just go in humbly. Like you just want to care about these people. You want to authentically, genuinely get to know someone. And when you do that and you have the heart posture to like care for someone rather than just the goal, it changes how you kind of react to people, how you talk to people. And so that for leadership for me is just, man, getting to know people and genuinely care what happens in their life. And that's what was the kind of physical change in me that I was like, okay, care for people, not just care for the goal.
Yeah. And I think the end goal remains the same, which is advancing. Yeah. And I wouldn't say it's self-advancement, but whatever the mission is.
Yeah, the team and everything.
And yet the difference, what happens and how you move towards that goal when
how do you approach it?
Working towards other people versus whenever you're seeking just yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still moving in that direction that you wanted to, but the momentum is there. The intentionality, the way that the team works together is just so much better when you're focused on others.
Yeah, it happens more naturally too. Yeah. Like when you care for others, like the goal's still there and you want to hit that goal. But when you care for people, you're kind of naturally rolling down the hill. Yeah. Rather than trying to climb up and do it on your own. That's a big difference and makes it a lot easier when you're going with people. For sure.
That's awesome. Sir. I love that insight. Share some ways that you show leadership in your everyday life, because I know this is something that comes up pretty regular now. And then what things do you do that help you to become a better leader?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think God's blessed me at kind of a young age and early in my college career to have some leadership positions. And I think my biggest one is church leadership. So I lead a Bible study. And so I'm getting to kind of hang out with freshmen that don't really know what's going on, and they're kind of clueless with their life. and kind of people that they come to church because they're lost. You know, they don't know what they're doing. And it's such a great opportunity to, once again, be intentional and personal with these people, to kind of get to know who they are. And for a leadership position there is just getting to know someone's really important, and genuinely care. Like, they don't know what's going on, and I'm rooted in Christ, and how can I help them find that? And that kind of goes in other organizations as well. I think the beginning of in my freshman year being involved in this stuff, I kind of switched my character up, right? I would be with church people, you know, I know what they want, their values, and I would follow that. Then I go to a fraternity, I go to other people, and my character kind of switches up to kind of what they want. What's their goals, what's their drives. And I just caught myself being two different people. And the big lesson I learned is keep your character consistent. You know, like, your ideals and standards shouldn't change for someone else. And once I did that, it just really helped me be a better leader. When I talk about other orgs, being in a fraternity, going to parties and other events, right? Like, not drinking and caring for other people. You know, I didn't know it was going to happen, but it naturally happened where people, it stood out, and people were like, why are you doing this? You know, like, you're going against the motion of culture, and why are you doing that? And I was like, I'm keeping to my standards, you know, and I'm rooted in Christ. And so that's really helped us have people that I didn't know, and they didn't know God, and they're coming to church. And so it really sticks out when you're a consistent person. And the best way I've done that, starting this academic year, is every morning is understanding who's leading you. Like, what's leading your leadership? What's motivating you? And is it God? Is it like caring for other people, or is it selfishness? Is it greed? And so I try to start the day like that. I mean, starting in the morning, understanding what's your goal in leading people. And so that just really helps you be more genuine. And I look back at the days that I'm like, man, I kind of messed up. I got angry at people. I kind of did things out of greed or selfishness. It's because I didn't do that morning routine, or that I didn't remind myself of that morning routine. And so what's really helped me practically is starting the day off understanding, why are you leading people? So that's kind of what I've learned so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, like, it's not just taking the surface level answer of I'm leading because this is where I'm positioned right now, or what opportunities I have, but you're diving a little bit deeper into a depth of what it looks like to have true, genuine leadership and care for other people.
Ask the questions why. Don't just do things.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, you're just taking it quite a bit deeper. Man, I want to hone in on the consistency piece that you're talking about. Because you and I have had conversations about this at a coffee shop probably several times. But one of the things that comes up a lot that I'm really impressed with, and I've even watched you kind of navigate through, is this idea of being somebody in this scene, and then you're with a different group of people, and changing kind of that up so that you're accepted and that you're kind of the guy, right, or just part of the group. And I think that just is something that shows up a lot. Like, we just see that,
especially young people too.
But
all over the time.
Say, like, right? When you're close to 40,
you think it gets better, but it doesn't.
Man, it still shows up in different settings, and I'm tempted with that on a daily basis. Like, I can be a chameleon, you know, when I'm with one person and like do my best to fit in here. Yeah. And when I'm over here, and it doesn't even have to be negative things, right? It's just kind of changing who I am and how I show up with people. Yeah. And there's this difference in showing up as an authentic person, like somebody who is like, no, I'm getting the same Ruben, I'm getting the same Ben, you know, in this setting and in this setting, and I'm watching both of them, and they're consistent with each other. And there's so much to that, and I just love that you've picked that up again. Probably not perfect, but in the sense that, like, you've got it, like, you understand. A little bit more about who you are, and then try to push back against those tendencies, and remain consistent wherever you are, because there is no better way to influence somebody than consistency. Because I think the easiest way to lose somebody's trust is to show up one way, and then they see you in a different setting, saying something completely different, very inconsistent. Then who are they going to trust? Because who do they really like? Who is Ben, right? Yeah. So, man, I think that consistent leadership is one of the ways that you're naturally gaining people who are looking up to you. By those that maybe even, like, they ask the question of, like, why did he say that thing?
Yeah, surprising ones for sure.
Yeah, and why do you do that, or why do you not do
Yeah.
that? I think that's when people's ears perk up, when they're like,
Yeah.
there's something about that dude.
Yeah.
Because he is who he is. And I bet it's not always easy. I bet there's
No.
sometimes you're in settings that are like, it'd be a lot easier if I just did what they did.
Yeah.
Or said what they said. Instead of taking a stand. I'm sure you've experienced that before.
Going against the current is hard. And I think one thing to know is, like, if you want to be consistent in leading others, you got to be consistent with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, understanding, hey, I'm rooted in Christ, and He gave me gifts. He gave me individual specific gifts. Why change that for a different group? You know, and so when your identity is in Christ, it's a lot easier to stay very, very much the same. But that's hard to do. I think a good way to put it is, like, when you work out, you can't just work out for 2 weeks and keep the same body for 3 years. It's one of those things you never outgrow. Like, I can have the understanding of what I need to change, but if I don't do it every day, then it's not going to happen. And so understanding it's going to be a life-going battle. Like, it's always going to happen. And so that's consistency, right? Is doing it all the time and not just once a month. And so keeping that mindset's really good, and just kind of reminding yourself every day. Like, you have to train your thoughts and train your mind about leadership and who you are and your identity.
Yeah. Well, man, I want to get into a period of life that maybe has transformed who you are. Is there anything in particular, and I have a feeling that there may be based on conversations we've had before, but is there anything that important moment of your life who shaped who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm young, and it's going to keep happening in my life. Things are going to change me, and there's going to be events, but right now specifically, I think about a time I was in middle school, and I was very my identity was in sports and in academics. Like, how can I be the best athlete? How can I be the best academic? What does my family look like? Do I look like I have the perfect family? That's great. I love my family. And so I thought, man, if I just keep working at that goal, then life's going to be easy, right? Like, everything's going naturally. I didn't think that I was sinning, at the time. And I had surgery. I tore my knee and I had surgery. And the day I got out of surgery, we realized my mom had stage 4 cancer. And that broke your identity, right? Like, it felt like a Jenga tower. And so kind of in that time, I realized that whatever you think you're doing right, and you might be consistently working out, consistently reading the Bible, sin is ever present. Like, there's some things that you can't control. Sin can't be controlled. Some of it can't be. Sin's everywhere. And so understanding, like, things that are going to happen in your life that are not necessarily because of what you did. And kind of understanding that, like, you can't rely on what you do every day, that working out's going to save you, that the only real promise that we have is relying on Christ. You can do those things, and it really helps, and it makes your life easier. But like I said, sin's still there. And so that's what I kind of understood is, like, there's going to be battles no matter what you do. And kind of relying on Christ is the only way to navigate that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Honing in a little bit on your faith journey. Because I know faith is super important to you. What do you feel like were some of those key moments where some maturity took place in your walk with Christ? Were there any key moments where just like light bulb went off? You're alluding to a lot of them now, so I get that, but like, is that where else did that show up? How did your
for sure.
And I know it's not always a light switch; it's kind of that gradual dimmer.
It's always gonna be up and down. Obviously, I think with my mom, that's where I got my true faith and understanding, relying on what does it mean to depend on Christ and nothing else. And I understand that, like I said, if you don't practice it, you're not going to keep it. I think a big one is for anyone going into a different stage of life, but especially high schoolers, because coming from my background of going to a private Christian school, you kind of get in the natural flow of it, right? Like, that's the popular thing to do, is to believe in Christ. And then, you're on this tiny little tunnel, and then you go to public university like I do at Tech, and you realize, man, like, that's not the culturally accepted thing to do. And it's actually, like it says in Scripture, it finally made sense to me that, like, it is the narrow path to follow Him. And you have to sacrifice some things. You have to sacrifice what you think is fun, what culture thinks is fun. And so that was a big one for me, how to navigate that, and understanding that it is hard to follow Christ in a culture that doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I think going into college, especially for the first year, understanding what it means to really authentically follow Christ and not to be distracted by what the world offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then with your mom's passing, I mean, I
Yeah.
know that was a key moment in your life.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there were other things that you learned through that season that shaped who you are today, the way that you see life?
Yeah.
I know a lot of it is just based on, it's kind of a perception, the lenses that we're wearing in which we see life through.
Yeah.
It just changes a lot on whatever season of life we're in, whatever is going on around us. And so, one day, life looks a certain way, and then you wake up or you come out of surgery or, some big life event happens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're wearing different glasses, right? The world looks a little bit different. So what did that shift kind of look like for you? And then kind of maybe pre-Ben from that moment to post-Ben, or what you learned through that season?
Yeah, I think we all kind of have this tendency, right, to think of a time frame of, I'm going to live for 80, 90 years, right? I have so much time to do everything. I have time to love other people. And seeing that get cut short with my mom, you kind of realize life is unexpected and we don't really know our timetable. And so for me, it kind of like lit a fire in me, just like do the things that you want to get done, and love people, loving people right now. You don't know how long you're going to have them. And so that really switched of, don't worry about a timetable. I'll do this in 10 years. I'll meet more people in 10 years. I'll preach the gospel in 10 years. Do it now. Like God's calling you to do it now. We don't know what our time is on earth. And so that really changed for me. And another thing for leadership that changed is kind of empathy, right? Like, I had great coaches at the time, and they really approached me well during that situation. Like, they know that I'm not, with a straight mind there going through all of that. And they were very empathetic to me. And they just really cared for me and followed up with me. And I had a lot of people that did that in my life. And so you don't know what people are going through. Don't, just because someone gets angry or messes up, don't audibly just attack them, right? Like, you don't know what they're going through. Like I said, be personable with them, kind of understand what's going in their life, ask them questions, get to the bottom of it, because they could be going through something that you've never experienced, that no kid or no person should experience, and that should definitely affect how you respond to people. And I think we really have the tendency to pass that by when we really hone in on it.
Yeah, man. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes we have to go through some of those really hard seasons of life to gain some of that perspective.
Yeah.
But this idea of urgency, right? Living not like we have, 50 years ahead of us or 60 or 80, right? That it's more of, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to get stuff done, right?
That's right.
And if I'm going to do that, the only thing guaranteed to me right now is this moment,
That's right.
And that's a big perspective.
Yeah.
And I think we take it for granted. I think it's easy to say tomorrow, or next week, or it's the someday thing, like the big goals. But I think things that are both important and urgent should take a really, really key spot in our lives.
Yeah.
And most of the time, those are relationships. It's health. It's our spiritual perspective, our walk with Christ. Like, those are the things that are really easy to put on the back burner because it's like a given. Like, I'll have those tomorrow. And so I can really wait and just dive into it then.
That's right.
But yet having that like perspective of right now, because you don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I try to teach people too, especially in my Bible study at our age. They're like, well, when I turn 21, when I turn 22 is when I'll kind of get my act together, when I'll kind of create my relationship with God. And it's like, no, God, you're thinking that thing's God calling you to do it, Like, stay healthy right now. And so it's like, there's not a timetable for it. It's not at this age I'm going to do it. When I turn 60 is when I'll actually care about my kids and their future. Do it now. If that's on your mind, then I think God's calling you to take that on the present.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, I hope people listen to you when you're saying that.
Yeah.
Man, what's something that you believe adults should keep in mind to lead at their highest level?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but people are looking at you, and it's more than just your circle that you think that you have. I think high school kids are looking at you, college kids, especially just young adults, right? Like, they're mimicking. They're looking for someone to look like, to act like, and there's nothing worse than I've had at my times where I see someone and their character does not match up with their messages, and that hurts, because you lose all trust, like we said. And so one thing is just be consistent with your character. Like do act on what you're saying. And so it's really important to understand who you are and what you want to do, and be someone that you would like to look up to. So if I'm talking to like leaders and adults, there is people are looking at you, and so just act right and do the things that you're asking people to do.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can see the difference as you're looking at leaders and those who are way ahead of you in life, where maybe their messaging, what they're doing doesn't really line up with character, versus those leaders who just like what their actions do line up with what they're saying? There is consistency. Is that something you feel like you can identify?
Yeah, I think a lot of those leaders don't realize is like when people are looking at you closely, it's easy to kind of tell. Like I'm not like just looking at you on stage or when you're speaking or teaching, I'm seeing what you're doing after. And so, yeah, I think it's dangerous too, because then you're like, oh, if I want to be like this person, I need to act this way off stage like this person does. So I think it naturally is easy to find when you're looking at someone. Yeah. Even when you think or you don't. I think you're just going to mimic any, not just on stage, but off stage stuff as well. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to get into you a little bit, just like where you're going from here, because, man, I'm excited for people to know, like, okay, like, who is Ben? I know he's a freshman, but what is he aspiring to do? Where is he going? So what kind of impact or difference in the world would you love to see yourself make if you're like, I don't know, envisioning yourself about 20 or 30 years down the road? What would you hope people say, like, this Ben is known for that?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And I think I would have answered that very differently a year ago and before my mom's passing. But, I don't know what the future holds. It's kind of hard to pin down a career right now. But I think one main thing that I want to know is I want people to see me and know that I follow God, that I'm a son of God, without my affiliations, without just knowing that I'm in a church, but kind of my actions. So hopefully in 20 years down the road that people can see how I'm treating people and how I'm doing business, and they would know that I'm following someone bigger than myself. So hopefully that's kind of what people see, is that I'm not leading through my own ambition and greed, that I'm following God, and that my actions are reflecting that.
Man, that's big. I'd say it's a different perspective whenever sometimes you may get an answer of like, man, I just want to be, a huge politician, right? Make changes, not even in a negative way, but like making real changes in a light of peace or big economic growth for the country. Things that may be like very, very beneficial to all of us, and yet it's really neat to hear you have this perspective of like, it doesn't matter what I do, it almost is more of who I am. Yeah. All right. So this difference between being and doing. Yeah. That's what I heard in that answer. And so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to know that your impact is big no matter what you do. If you're following God and you're caring for people. Yeah. All your achievements mean nothing if it was for yourself and that's all you really cared about. And so I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm, sweeping streets or I'm the president of the United States, right? But I just know that I want to care for people and follow God.
That's awesome. Are there role models, like people that you see ahead of yourself that like help shape who you are? Yeah. And you could talk about like either young Ben, high school, right now. Like, who are those people that you've kind of modeled what you want your life to look like and have kind of like shot in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had a lot of them. I think one that really changed my life was Bree Menifee. So I met her from Redeemer. And talk about someone that just cares for people deeply. I was going through a really hard time my senior year, going through some stuff, graduating. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she spotted me out without saying anything. And like I said, that's leadership. She knew something was wrong. She was empathetic to me, and she focused on me and said, hey, like, I want to help you. Like, what's going wrong with your life? She asked me questions. She let me speak, which I haven't done in a long time. So that really kind of changed the way I saw leadership is she taught me like how to care for other people and to care for yourself. Like you can't be a great leader if you're not doing well either, like focus on yourself too. And so she really taught me some great things. And then of course, just like talking about just being a good leader, would be Jeff Klein and Peter Griffith, my football coaches. Those are just men that talk about that their messages reflect their character, just the way that they run their family, they run their lives, and how they help the community. It all matched up, and that was really like a sigh of relief for me when you talk about kind of trusting leadership. And they just taught us, like, man, just work hard and work hard for other people, and whatever you're doing, right? It doesn't matter if you think it's a big role or not such a big role. Do it with all your heart. Do 100%. And so those guys for sure. And then obviously you, just talking to you every month and getting to be vulnerable with someone older than me. You know, at the time, it's like beginning of the time, it's uncomfortable. But you opened up to me, and just became like that friendship where we were speaking. I've never had that before, and so that really helped me as well.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd love to hear, even as you're defining who a leader is, as you're talking about the guys and gals who have like led you before and who you look up to.
Yeah.
As you're talking about Bree, as you're talking about the coaches, like, man, you just hear the same things over and over, which is care and consistency. All right, consistency in their action, but then ultimately like this undertone of care and all of it.
Yeah.
So what you aspire to be for others, how you even define leadership, plus how you've been role modeled and what you're identifying as the people who've influenced you.
Yeah.
It's just like so super consistent.
Yeah.
And I love hearing that.
Yeah.
So it's not always the ones that just like change the world, but
Right.
those little day-to-day actions of
Yeah.
like, no, they showed this, they displayed this to me.
Yep.
Maybe even the smallest ways.
Yeah.
But it spoke volumes.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's
that's really
people
cool.
that impact you the most, for sure.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thinking about like school now, like
Right.
what do you hope to do? I mean, we've mentioned real estate. What kind of are you thinking about career or fields as you
Yeah.
go on from college?
Yeah, it's been super exciting. You know, being this young, I have so many pathways to go.
Seriously.
Obviously, I'm doing finance and taking commercial real estate classes. And so I think even at a young age, just even seeing the Nike factory and Kingsgate and everything like that, like how much it impacts a community, like it creates an economy. And I was like, this is awesome. Like you get to build something and you get to provide services. So I think commercial development has been really interesting to me. Being able to create shopping centers and multifamily and offices, you know, that people get to work in and create more for other people. That's always been inspiring to me. It's huge, and there's so many different ways to get into it, whether it be property management or being a broker. And I just love that freedom. And so I've been really excited to continue to walk through that path. But, you know, it's whatever happens. But
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been fun watching even just our initial conversations around real
Yeah.
estate, and then you getting plugged into all the organizations that you're in right now,
Yeah.
specifically the real estate organization, and then even having the opportunity to work in a commercial office here in town
Yeah.
in Graco.
Yep.
And so in the way that your mind is just expanding in the ways that you're growing, and
Yeah.
it's been fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool thing about what you're doing that maybe is a little bit different than some approaches. Like for myself in college, like, man, interning is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think the way that you've taken it beyond just interning and working somewhere, but also plugging into organizations that are around what you want to do, I know have really opened up possibilities for you.
Yeah.
Like seeing different people and organizations that are just,
Yeah.
they're doing huge things.
Yeah.
Right. And you get to be a part of that and to witness that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it
super
probably
fun.
just like really expands your mind and the possibilities of what's out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting to work with professors and then getting to work with people that are actually in the industry. You just get to learn a lot how people do things, and thankfully I've been around people that do things the right way, and it's been so fun. I learn something every day, and so it's frustrating because you don't know everything, but I don't think I'll ever learn everything about
Right,
this industry.
right.
So it's just so fun. It keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. Well, that's great,
Yeah.
man. Well, I'm excited to get into the book
Yeah.
that you recommended.
Yeah.
So tell me what the book is. Tell me a little bit about why or how it's impacted you. And yeah, I want to share it because I haven't had the privilege of reading this one yet, but the way that you initially described it to me is something that I feel like any season of life, but maybe in
Yeah.
particular, like a season, it stands out
Yeah.
the most. But yeah, tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's this book called Just Do Something. It's by Kevin DeYoung. And what's really neat about it is this is what my mom would give to every graduate when they graduated KPA. And she gave it to my cousin Josh, and Josh gave that back to me when I graduated. And so it means a lot to me just in that aspect. But especially going into college, I was freezing up, just like, what does God want for me? I was like, do I want to be in missions? Do I want to, be a sender? Do I want to work in real estate? What do I want to do in college? And it's easy to freeze up in moments like that. And so what this book's really doing is, you don't have to freeze up and wait for God's plan. Like, you don't have to freak out about all different places you can go. It's like, if you're rooted in Christ, if you're praying and you're reading his word, and whatever action you take is honoring God, then you're going to be fine. And so it just really helps you be actionable in what you're doing, and knowing that you can't know God's plan for you. And if you're just doing everything to honor God, then that's going to be pleasing to him. Yeah. And so it helped me stop freezing up. And I know I'm going to have that when I have to decide if I want to move cities or start my own business or have kids, a family. This book's always going to be coming to my mind, just knowing that, man, if you're just intentional about what you're doing, then there's a lot of paths that you can take that's going to be glorifying God. There's not just one specific one that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not always a right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
Black or white. Like, if I do this, like, what's going to be the wrong decision?
Yeah.
And I think that's a hang up for a lot of us at any season of life.
Yeah.
It could just be a career change.
Yeah.
Or like you said, moving cities, even in your 40s or 50s. Is this what we need to do or not? And you kind of get so frozen by, paralyzed by the ideas and the options and not taking the wrong step.
Gosh.
That often it's just take the step.
Just take it.
Just take one small one in a direction. Had the privilege of interviewing Bob Goff.
Yeah.
That everybody's heard his episode now.
Dream big,
play.
That's a great book.
And man, in that was a conversation about this idea of landing a plane, right? And just like, we have all these planes that they're just circling, right? And just making sure like we just land planes, right? And then somebody else had this conversation about, I think this was Doug Duncan and I were having a conversation about moving a car. And just like, we're not going to ever move a car and get it rolling by just moving the steering wheel. Yeah. Like, you got to press the gas, right? That's and right. You can even take off and be in the wrong direction. But you're going to be way more likely to end up at your goal if you're just moving the car, even if you're going completely opposite, because you're able to eventually steer that car around to where you need to get going. Versus just like trying to turn the wheel to make sure you're aiming in the right spot and then hitting the gas.
That's right.
Just get going. So I feel like it's almost along that same lines and principles. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, no, it's very similar. Yeah.
But it just seems like just start moving.
Yep.
All right. Don't wait for that perfect moment, but do it to where it's like, if we're honoring God in this decision, then we're doing the right thing.
That's right.
And as long as our mind and our focus is there, then we can start course correcting along the way.
Yeah.
But if we're not moving because we're just afraid that we're going to take that wrong first step.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to make any progress.
No, yeah. And then it's a whole thing about failure, right? Like we try to do everything to avoid failure and mistakes. And what we got to know is like failure is going to happen. It's going to happen in some different way. But it's like you're driving the car, right? And you need directions. Well, you start going, you take a wrong left turn. Okay, I know that left turn's not right. And then you start making a map for yourself. But if you just sit there, you're not going to know any directions at all. Yeah. And so, it's going to be a long time, and you might have to figure it out. But failure is a good thing because it teaches you what not to do.
Yeah.
And so just keep going. If it's pleasing to God and what you're doing is not wrong, then just go for it.
Yeah, man, good stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, love to wrap this up. I mean, I want to keep talking, and I'm sure we could just keep going for a long time, but. Love to wrap up with one question, and that's, if you could define leadership in one sentence, what would that be?
Gosh. Yeah, I think leadership is being intentional, consistent with yourself and how you lead people, and caring for others more than you care for yourself. Yeah. So that would be my one sentence.
That's awesome. Well, I've heard it over and over again. I think for listeners, I think they got it, right?
Yeah.
I think you have articulated it in such a great way.
Yeah.
And even were consistent in the way you answered all these questions and the way this conversation went.
Yeah.
It just solidified that you understand that, and that's your focus. And so it's going to be neat, man. I can't wait to hopefully 20 years from now play back this interview.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome.
And just be like, that's the Ben, right? That's
Yeah.
the Ben we know today was the Ben that we all listened to back in 2025.
Yeah.
And so just keep heading in that direction, man. Keep surrounding yourself with the people who you're surrounding yourself with, because you've got great people in your corner. Your family is amazing. And I've got the privilege of meeting your dad, meeting your brothers, your sister, and they're all just phenomenal, right? And they're all rooting for you 1,000%. So you got cheerleaders in your corner just saying like Ben is the next guy, right? I'm going to be, saying like I got a chance to hang out with him on a regular basis, because someday, man,
we'll talk about it over coffee in 2055. Right?
Yeah. I might have to go up to Washington, D.C. or something.
Yeah.
Meet up with you, but
I'll put you in the Oval Office.
Oh, that's right. I'll fly up. I'll do whatever it takes to get there. But dude, I really am excited to watch where you go from here. It's going to be phenomenal. And even if, I have my ideas of where you're going to end up someday, but I would say even if you ended up, just doing something completely opposite.
Yeah.
And you were a taxi driver.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You're going to be loving people and you're going to be making an impact. And that's what I love about you. It doesn't matter where you're sitting, what position you're going to be in.
That's right.
You will be leading from that position. So,
yes, sir.
You are 20 years old. Is that
20.
correct?
Yes,
and
sir.
I just want to have that for the record, because the way you speak, the way you articulate things, it feels like I'm talking to somebody who's in their 50s, who's had life behind them, and who has experienced so much. So, dude, great head on your shoulders. I hope someday that you're just you have this legacy of people, like this trail, almost a lineage of people you've impacted or impacting other people and impacting other people. I think it'll be a chain, man. And I'm just excited that I've been along for the ride.
Well, I appreciate it. Yes,
You
sir.
bet. Well, thanks for coming out today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making this possible. I'm excited to get this out to people, and just thanks for being a friend.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, have a good one, man.
Yes, sir. See you for coffee next month.
You got it.